us relatively safe in the market. So that was kind of one of the good things here. Let me go ahead and start the recording has started. So everything I say and do can be used against me. All right. So let's start off. We'll just kind of look at the trades from Friday, and then we'll get into some other thingies here. When you look at like pound dollar, we were looking for the pound dollar right out. Remember, we met a half hour after non-farm payroll. And thank God we didn't trade that, because it was definitely a whipsaw market on Friday. So we actually, by being a little bit more conservative, I know it was more of a break-even week last week, and we didn't get a lot of trade opportunities, and we were kind of winning and losing, but I think it ended up working out in our favor. The only one that, the ones that kind of came to fruition was we saw the pound rising up, after the non-farm payroll, and we were looking for it to come back down below 4,200. That did occur. We did have the pound on Friday, and you can kind of zoom in to what happened on Friday. Now look at this. We were really smart, I think, to kind of wait things out here, because if you want to know what a whipsaw market is, non-farm payroll comes out. Remember, it's the pound dollar pair. Came out way above expectations, and dollar shot up and then came right back down. Remember, I had said to stay away from this because I felt that it could whipsaw, and then it went straight up. And even if we were buyers at the end of that hour after the market's open, it topped out right in there. You did have an opportunity right in here when it finally came down and closed below 4,200, which was at the start of the market. Unfortunately, I was asleep at that hour, so I didn't really catch that. But, we did have a strong close beneath 4,200, which brought it down further. Now it's kind of hovering right at this 78.6% retracement level. So out of the trades that we did put out there for Friday, that could have covered into the weekend, that break of 4,200 could have been a winner, although it wouldn't show up in my account because, well, I didn't trade it. And then we were looking for the euro dollar to reverse back below below the 10,000. I'm sorry, the 110 level, possibly. And that did the same thing. Look at it here. You can kind of see clearly. Euro dollar came down, dollar got stronger, dollar got weaker. This was, I think a lot of people got stopped out around these levels in here. And then it did come down. It actually came down on Friday below the 110 level to where it could have given you an opportunity in the afternoon. But people that know me pretty well, if I don't have a trade on by like noon usually on Friday, I'm usually pretty much putting up the close sign on trading for the day. But it made that same break right down in here after the markets opened yesterday, and it once again is all consolidated right in through here. We can trade these consolidation levels actually if we want to, and that would be kind of preferable here today. So looking at everything overall, kind of since the start of the market here, looking at all the currencies, all the dollar pairs especially. Here, I want to take a look at New Zealand here today also. Thanks to Phil. Phil kind of opened my eyes to some things here on Friday when it comes to commodity currencies. I usually do my homework pretty well on Monday mornings or at the start of the week. And commodity currencies, for some reason, I've been kind of hooked on the dollar CAD, but start looking at more of the commodity currencies because they've actually been the ones getting stronger versus the dollar when the dollar's gotten weaker. So let's take a look here at what's shaken out for the week so far. We're in really no hurry to put anything in. The one that I'm looking at, well, actually, let's just get to a trade that I'm looking at right now. And let me actually pull this up here. That'll be much easier. And I can actually zoom in all the way here. You can see the pound for the last 6 hours has just been in a state of consolidation right in through here. can go to just the low right down here. This is right at the 78.6 level. It almost mirrors a lot of some of the other commodity currencies actually. And I think up until midweek, where we really start getting rolling on bigger and bigger news announcements coming out, we need to start thinking about just, at least for the next couple of days, just kind of trading what the market gives us as far as trading opportunities go. This is one of them that I'm looking at here. I'm still bearish on the pound because, I mean, the pound overall, even during its upswing right in through here has still been, it still tops out here. It's still been gradually lower high, lower high, lower high. And this is a higher high a bit, but overall it's kind of still been going lower. And you can see all through here on the LP trend line that it's going lower. So indicating there could be quite a bit of selling pressure there. And I do think that there's still a lot of bearishness to be had in the pound. So that's why, as far as retracements go, I like selling it as it goes up. And I do think it would have some room to go here if we can. This is a simple consolidation break. It's been consolidated for the last 6 hours. So for a sell entry, so break of support, so break through the lower bounds of consolidation here. Now you can see the pound is +5 on these 1 hour totals. And one of the things I've been looking at is when these things kind of do cross down below into negative territory. If it's +5 for an extended period of time, like right now it's +5. When it does turn negative, like it turns negative right in here. You see how this hangs high up in here, and then once it does go, it was +5, +5, +5, and then once it does go negative, that precedes the big movement on the pound as far as when you actually got the shift in the liquidity providers. If you wanted to be more aggressive on this, I'm just saying that this is something that I've been looking at, and as far as getting into earlier entries, earlier on into movements, when it breaks through this support, what we could do is look for a 5, that 5% shift. And generally we've been looking at the +5s, -5s, but if you see the 1 hour totals, if you want to be a little bit more aggressive, I'm just saying that you can use this as a little bit more aggressive way on these 1 hour totals to trade into these, is to sell this when it goes negative. It's +5 right now, and we've seen it before in the past. When it goes +5, like it goes +5 right here, like right before, and then here it goes negative. You see it goes +5 and then it goes negative, and it doesn't go -5 until it's already made the bigger move. It's something I've been looking at on PitView because sometimes I get a little, especially when you're trading with a method, you get a little, you just get used to trading a certain way. And it wasn't until some students were kind of pointing this out to me that, when it does go +5, how like a stochastic, when it goes overbought, but then when it crosses below the neutral line, or a MACD when it goes to overbought levels, and then it crosses like the 0 line, like the histogram, oftentimes that can give you your signal to sell. And, as long as this thing does go +5, if you want to be a little bit more aggressive here, as long as this goes negative as it's crossing down below this low, I think you could be a little bit more aggressive here. The point you'll have to look out for, though, is the 4,100 level. But I think that if we get any larger amounts of volatility as we get into this week, I think we're going to see a lot of different position adjustments being done, and positions being taken before a lot of the interest rates that are coming out this week. We got a big week this week as far as news. I think I mentioned that already, but I like to be repetitive. What can I say? The stop we'd be putting right up above this swing high. So the stop would be 1.18. 806. Now based on this low, 41,330, this would be risk of about, let's see, where's this low at? Yeah, 41,330. So you'd be looking at risk of like about 47 or so pips on this. Look for your limit of 1-to-1 risk reward. Because I think it can, it can peek its nose down through the 4,100 level, and I'm speculating on more volatile movements occurring. So that could be a good one to look at there as far as a breakout opportunity to the downside, and that would be more of a dollar strength trade. Got my CNBC volume up a little too loud there. And now that I got this copied down, when you look at what happened with the pound last week, it did go up, and a lot of the fundamentals surrounding the pound, we at some points we did look for trades in either direction on it, but we're going to use something else as far as looking for more buy opportunities or selling opportunities on the dollar. But long term, it still looks like it's just kind of coming down and making a lower high, and almost at this point right in here, you kind of connect these highs right down together, is almost right near like where the top end of a trend line would be. So it doesn't look like the pound. Pound overall on the daily chart, it's lower. So it certainly doesn't look like this upswing that we had last week is a monumental, I should say, shift in the trend. I think it could be just a short-term retracement. So I'll go ahead and copy that down, and then we'll talk, so that we have one that we can watch here during class, and then I'll talk about some others here in just a second. And don't be afraid to put your limit below that 4,100 level. I think that after non-farm payroll on Friday and the week that we're going into, we can kind of set those psychological levels aside a little bit, kind of test them out, and see where we go. So let's go back up here to the top. Let me just kind of go through. As far as what's shaking out today, global markets are down. You can kind of see it here on Yahoo Finance. Futures are down across the board. Dow futures, NASDAQ futures, S&P futures. Oil's up 1.5%. You can see European stocks down. FTSE, DAX, everything's kind of down here. The Financial Times Stock Exchange, Europe is pretty much down 1% across the board. So those are all running in tandem with one another. And it really all started in Asia. Nikkei down 103, Hang Seng down 17. SSE was down big actually right at the start of the market. You can kind of see it on this little chart up here, but ended up closing to the upside. The rest of the Asian markets really closed more towards the downside. That's the Shanghai Stock Exchange. So oil is up and commodities are up. So oil is up, commodities are up also. That includes gold. So some of the bigger commodities are up today. And I don't think we're close on any of the other ones that I was looking at yet. Let me kind of check things out here, see where we're at. Yeah, we're not close yet. I can kind of ease back and kind of go through some of the news coming out this week. Big news week. We could call this, in fact, I'm just going to go, welcome to central bank season. So it's a big news week. A lot of central banks coming out this week. I'll pull up Forex Factory real quick so you can kind of get a view of what all's coming out. Now, of course, looking at here's today, as far as news announcements go, there's nothing really big coming out today. So we can look for more of a technical market, but don't be fooled. There's a lot of these things that could absolutely become there's a lot of different situations that could occur this week that could cause volatility even before the central banks come out. Tuesday, kind of the same thing. There's really not a huge amount coming out. Carney's coming out and speaking at 4:15 tomorrow morning, but I don't expect him to put any major shocks into the market ahead of their interest rate announcement. See, Wednesday we got the Bank of Canada interest rate announcement. There could be some concerns. Most people expect them to keep their rates unchanged and their announcement to be neutral. But that kind of starts off central bank season here in the Forex markets, is looking at the BOC coming out there on Wednesday morning. Then 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday, we have the New Zealand interest rate announcement. Once again, they're expected to keep rates unchanged, as Australia did also. They also follow that with their press conference. Governor Wheeler's going to come out and talk. Hopefully, I don't think he will, but hopefully he doesn't say anything about the the exchange rate. I don't know if that would be a concern at this point, because New Zealand has been going up a bit over the last several months. Over the last month, I should say. CPI is coming out in China. Obviously, consumer price index. That anything inflationary in China is going to be a big deal. And then the big one here is going to be the euro on Thursday. So those two central banks coming out on Wednesday. The euro comes out on Thursday. They got their minimum bid rate coming out at 7:45 a.m. 45 minutes later is when Super Mario comes out and talks. They're expected to increase their asset purchases as far as the extension of their QE program, kind of making up for their mistakes back in December. There also they also could lower their deposit rate even further into negative territory. A lot of these central banks are trying to stop the bleeding of deflation by making these types of moves, because the exchange rates, no matter what central banks say, are having a significant impact on their deflationary pressure. It's been going on for years now. I mean, this isn't something that's new. This is why a lot of these central banks, like the Bank of Japan, like the ECB, have been making these big moves. Mario Draghi already made a mistake in December by not fulfilling market expectations, which led to the euro increasing in December, having one of the biggest up days that it's had since inception. Basically, it went up huge back during their last interest rate announcement, because Draghi did not meet market expectations. He was not dovish enough. He was not aggressive enough in his monetary easing policies and his asset purchase policies and their extension of their QE program. I don't think he's going to make that same mistake twice. So we will be trading this together on Thursday. All are welcome. I'll give you an email address that you can send an email to it, and I'll send you out. So we'll be starting at about 8:15, but we may also have to put a strategy together just in case they lower deposit rate at 7:45. So that's on Thursday. So that's a big one coming out. Friday, everything kind of calms down a little bit more. You do get the jobs report coming out of Canada. But then next week's followed up much the same way. Next week's going to be followed, going to kind of come in line where we have the FOMC, the Federal Reserve meeting, And then we have the BOE, Bank of England announcement. And then you also got the Swiss National Bank announcement. So it could be a crazy 2 weeks as far as supply and demand goes. So this week we have the BOC and RBNZ on Wednesday. And then we have the ECB. This is Super Mario Day on Thursday. We'll trade this live. Email me at education. Thursdays are our NuriFX days at nurifx.com for an invite, and I will invite you into the NuriFX center, if you will. So strategy for this morning, I should say strategy for today, look to trade dollar strength or weakness. And what we're going to look for on dollar strength is we're going to look for pound dollar shorts, and for dollar weakness, because commodities are up and market and futures are down, we're going to kind of take an opposite approach. Thank you, Phil Harris. We're going to look for versus USD. Phil, I don't want to sound like Darth Vader or anything, but the student has become the master. Star Wars. There's a little Star Wars for you. All right. So let me start off with one that I was looking at. There's a couple that I was looking at here. As far as opportunities on dollar shorts. You can see a lot of these dollar pairs when you look at them close up. And here, let me take all the objects off the list here on this pound, and I'll change it over to the euro just because we don't need to have that up there anymore. And kind of bring that over. You can see a lot of them look relatively the same. You know, euro strength and then dollar strength, pound strength, dollar strength, Swiss strength, dollar strength. Swiss has been one of the bigger movers, but it's moved so much that I think we kind of want to stay away from that for right now. It's up above that parity level where things can get a little shaky. Dollar yen strength, dollar strength, and then yen strength again because all the Asian markets were down overnight. Dollar CAD, you had CAD strength and then a little bit of dollar strength, and it's starting to break out of its consolidation levels right now. Aussie dollar, Aussie strength, dollar strength, a little bit of Aussie strength here this morning, then New Zealand. So looking at these commodity currencies, I think are the ones that give us a pretty good shot, if you will, I think, to look for dollar weak positions, if you will. I'm going to start off here on New Zealand. But this trade, just because this one's probably the closest from its swing low from last week, well, actually not from the entire low of last week, but this was the most significant swing move right in through here because it made this low shortly after non-farm payroll. You can see it's been hovering right here at this 78.6 level. Now let's zoom in a little bit more here. It kind of made the biggest retracement, so I think it's the one that could potentially retrace further to the upside. And here, just for giggles, let's pull up New Zealand dollar on here. You can see it's like at a -2 or something like that. Yep, -2 on there. So we don't need to really see that 78.6 to look at the strategy, because you could almost treat it like a double bottom. You see it's making bam, bam, and double bottom formation right at a 78.6 level, which actually gives it some room to go here to the upside. So looking at the flip end of this, Oh, I'm sorry, double bottom. Did I call it a double top? I meant a double bottom. But then again, I am looking at my screen upside down. I'm just kidding. Break of double bottom. Conservatively, you could say +5 on the 1 hour T's. Here, let me do this real quick. Can I copy and paste this? Should probably always do this. You know, as a whole, New Zealand's been kind of making higher highs and higher lows right in through here too on the LP trend line. You can kind of see, you know, it did come down, it did consolidate a little bit in here, but it also went -5. You see how that went -5 right in through here? But we always want to look for these things to break out of key levels before we trust the PitView indicators, because normal back and forth action between market makers can often cause a lot of, you know, shifts in the differentials, because all it's doing is it's measuring the liquidity providers. So arrow up here, and here you can use the +5 on the 1 hour T, or if you just see it go positive here, I mean, you can be more aggressive on that. That's what I'm trying to say, is you can certainly be more aggressive on that. And then your stop, put right down below the swing low, which would be 0.67474. Whoops, I meant 474. There we go. You kind of, you know, this may seem like a large amount of movement here, but this is actually only about, this entire movement right in through here is only about 60 pips. So yes, I am going to put on this a limit of 1-to-1 risk reward. I know it'd only probably be, you know, if you executed it, probably would only be a 25 pip gain, but you could almost look for 1 to 1.5, I would guess, because it would have to come way back up to these highs at the 6,800 levels to get to a 1 to 1.5 risk reward ratio. Or what you can do here, I'll just put a limit of 1 to 1 risk reward on here. But since you are risking, if you want to kind of go for more risk reward ratio, do a limit 1 of 1 to 1. If you can do more than one lot based on your money management parameters. So if you're doing more than one lot, but if you're only doing one lot, I would kind of keep it to 1 to 1 risk reward. Take those 20, you know, if it's 25, it's 30 pips, take it off the table. There we go. Take some of these other trades off here. And we're going to go USD weakness. There we go. Let's see what's happening with Mr. Pound right now. Just kind of looking through on here. Take the objects off this list just so I can see all the other charts a little bit more clearly here. There we go. So consolidated, and change this back to euro dollar up in here. Actually, change this one. Just trying to get a read for what's happening overall here. So nothing's really broken out at this point. Starting to get a bit of a break here on New Zealand. Aussie's starting to break up to the upside. You can essentially choose, pick and choose between these commodity currencies versus the dollar. Aussie, instead of doing New Zealand, you could use Aussie the same way as we just did New Zealand. The reason why I didn't choose Aussie is a lot of times these two currencies move in tandem with one another is because it's so damn close to its high. It's already kind of retraced more. So if you're wondering, well, why not Aussie? Well, this high up here is only about 20 pips away. And, even though these things have been pretty strong, they haven't been the most volatile in the world. They have made some pretty big moves, but they haven't been hugely volatile. If you were looking for Aussie for the same trade, I would actually look more at this high up in here, possibly, for it to break through this swing high. You could look for it for short term of breaking through this swing high, but you'd want to just keep an eye on this psychological high right up in here. There seemed to be a lot of resistance right up in there. So to be safer on Aussie, and I'm not going to put this on the trading sheet, I'm going to keep New Zealand, but if you're more of an Aussie type of dude, you can use that same New Zealand type of mentality, but I would actually wait the 20 pips for it to break through this swing high up in here before buying into it. I want it to get back up into no man's land, if you will. And then, we do have also dollar CAD right in through here. CAD has been extremely strong. It was extremely strong on Friday. Non-farm payroll right in here. This was the dollar whipsaw that we saw: dollar strength, dollar weakness, and then came right back down. On dollar CAD, let's see here. It's kind of looking at these levels right in through here. It has that same kind of consolidation going on. It hasn't retraced as far. There's really, did it make a trend line right in through here? Yeah, it did. I guess it did make, the semblance of, if you go in from the lows to kind of a trend line, it really wouldn't matter in this case. Most of this is just consolidation. I would just kind of put it right here at these lows. Dollar CAD, kind of the same as we like going long the commodity currencies versus dollar if the dollar gets weaker today because commodities so far have held up. Let's see, it's 936. Well, actually, gold's going down a little bit now. It was up. And so commodities were up. Let's see here. The stock market's open. So Dow's down 40, S&P's down 8, NASDAQ's like down 24 points, about 0.5% on the NASDAQ. So we're starting to get a little bit of movement here right at the start of the day. Then it looks like oil was up over 1%, but I didn't see any here. I'll check it here on the finance screen. Yeah, looks like it's still up a wee bit. Yeah, it's still up 1.5%. So let's see here. Hasn't quite broken that high. Phil has to put New Zealand on PitView. So PitView, so you see New Zealand's gone positive on here. It hasn't quite broken that high yet. Let's see this high, 67666. I guess it did by like 3 fractional pips. It's pretty darn close though, as far as the resistance level goes. We'll call a true break being an actual pip break. At least this is what I was talking about though. It has gone positive. It was negative. But if we can see this tick up a little bit more, we could potentially get in on this trade. I'll keep that on there. I'll keep that on the bottom of the screen there just so we can see it. And then dollar CAD, the same thing. You could actually look for dollar CAD, breaking this low. It hasn't really gone negative on dollar CAD as it's kind of fallen through these lows right in through here. So it'd be the same thing if you want to be more aggressive. It did go +5 as it was coming up. If it just turns negative and breaks through that low, you could potentially look for selling opportunities there. So now we have broken that high on New Zealand. Since I've been testing this out a bit, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a shot. So since New Zealand is kind of rising, it was -5 and now it's gone +5. So we'll do a 1 lotter. Here we go. This is something that I've been kind of testing here, is like in order for the PitView to get you out of the New Zealand trade, what you would want is if it goes +5, and now that we're in the trade, people would ask, well, would we sell it? Would we sell New Zealand and close our position early if it goes negative from here? And the answer is no. You wouldn't just close it early if it goes negative. You'd want to wait for, if New Zealand goes +5 and you don't reach your take profit and then starts to come back down, that's when you'd be kind of looking for it to, here, let me take these things down a little bit here. Hold on one second. There we go. See, so where was our low? 67474. So we're risking roughly 23 pips. So we put our take profit at 0.67. $936. And here, I'm just going to make this talk about fractional pips here, but I'm just going to make this even, risking 23 pips to make 23 pips. There we go. See what I mean? It looks like big movements here, but, like all these red bars and stuff, but, even at a 1-to-1 risk reward, that still puts us, it still has to make a pretty nice move there to the upside in order for us to hit our profit target. So that's what I meant by, if you're going to, I've been doing 1 lotters as of late just to go for the minimum take profit levels that I put out there for trades. But if you can do 2 lots, you can also put this in for, limit 1-to-1 risk reward. And then what would happen is if it hits limit 1 and you get your 1-to-1 risk reward ratio off, then you can go limit 2, move your stop to break even on your second lot, and then put limit 2 in at a 1-to-1.5. Unlike me, though, in order to do that, you would want to put your, if you ever do 2 lots on those trades, folks, don't put in your take profit level at a 1-to-1 risk reward. Well, if you live here in the United States, I think in other countries you can actually buy 2 separate lots and put 2 separate stop loss and take profits. But in the U.S. version of MetaTrader, we can't do that because of the FIFO rules and how screwed up everything is. So you would want to put your take profit, either not put a take profit in or put your take profit at a 1-to-1.5 risk reward if you're doing 2 lots, and then manually close out half your position once you reach a 1-to-1 risk reward. It's kind of the pain in the butt way to do it if you're more of a manual trader like I am. But so if you put 1-to-1 risk reward on there, if you have 2 lots, it'll close out both your positions at that 1-to-1. It would close out both lots at that 1-to-1. So you'd want to put your take profit at like a 1-to-1.5 is usually the way I do it. Just put it at your max take profit level. All right. So all that crap can be taken off the chart now. I guess we can, what do we usually say? Let's put some lipstick on that pig. Oh, back over here to dollar CAD. Dollar CAD, I was looking at these, another reason why I chose New Zealand was, dollar CAD has been doing these consolidation levels right in through here, but it has not been, and here, sorry, I keep switching my charts around. Right in here on dollar CAD, you can kind of see it's making some lower highs here. During this time, it was actually making higher highs on the trend line. You can look for a break of consolidation. You can see it's gone +5 also. But if it breaks through the low, just like New Zealand, it breaks through the low of the consolidation, look for it to turn negative or go to -5. And that would give you your entry into dollar CAD. But it's been kind of holding strong there at that +4 level. Let's go back to New Zealand. Where are we at? Yeah, it's still sitting there right at that high. Oh, and I apologize. I'm kind of getting away from myself here. There's a couple others I was looking at here as far as opportunities go. Now that we already have these trades on, we can kind of calm down a little bit and take a look at some other opportunities that you can look out for overnight or whatnot. Get these things back up here. There we go. Put my trade manager up there just so I know what's going on with this trade. Ooh, hey, we're up 5 cents. I can buy like 10% of a White Castle. All right. Other things to look out for as we get into the overnight hours. Now we're going to stick with the pound here, and I'll just kind of give you another strategy you can look at should the pound keep increasing in value. And I'm just going to start right here at this swing high because this is where the pre-breakout levels were. Okay. And I can zoom in. So I like the pound on retracements also. And I'm going from this one. This is where it really broke out, was right down in here. This was the major daily swing move, if you will. But another one to look out for here on the pound is if it does come up and challenge this 4,200 level. Look for a sell entry at a touch of 78.6. Same thing applies to that. If the pound goes +5, like pound's already been negative quite a bit, but you know, I don't think it's gone -5 yet. We could probably look at that. Let's see here. Pull it up. No, it hasn't. I don't think it's gone -5. Let's see here. It's come pretty close. It already went +5. It already went negative. So that already gives us kind of a sell if it breaks through the low. But after it's gone negative, we would like for it to go, if it goes +5 once again and goes negative. See if it gets to the +5. If it goes +5 once again as it rises back up. Otherwise, I would just look for it to go -5 at that 78.6 level. -5 on the 1 hour totals. Because we're looking for that kind of cross action to occur. Or another way to look at the pound is if you get, like my students, like a single bar touch and close off that level, and you see that the PitView is negative on it at that 78.6 level. All we're really trying to do is we're trying to look for retracement trades. So if you get one bar that comes up and touches, and that same bar closes below 78.6, that can also give you an entry there. But we're really looking for a test of the 4,200 level on that 1.42173. And on this one, depending on where you get in, I do think you could put a limit of 1 to 1.5 risk reward, or that same limit 1, limit 2 scenario. Limit 1 at a 1 to 1 risk reward if you can do more than one lot, and limit 2 at a 1 to 1.5. Be interesting to see what happens there with the pound overnight. But I like selling the pound into retracements also. Now, just something to think about, though, you know, if the pound does come up above 4,200, if this all gets broken out, if this doesn't execute, or even if you get stopped out, you still want to kind of use the same strategy from Friday. If it goes above 4,200, and if it breaks back down below 4,200, you can use that as your confirmation also. You know, look for, let's say this trade doesn't execute. Let's just say it blows through the 4,200 level, and we don't really get any execution on that. Well, in that case, you want to look for it to come back down. You can see how much resistance there was right above 4,200, so you can just wait for it to come back down below 4,200. Or an easy way to do it would just be to keep moving your 78, like move your 78.6 level back to here. But all we're doing here is trying to see if the pound can make some is hit some type of resistance at that 4,200 level. And last one here, I know I'm running out of time, so I think I've given you a couple of ideas as far as momentum and retracements go right now. We're up a whole 7 cents on New Zealand right now. Woohoo! Last one I'll go over here is on this dollar Swiss. On both euro dollar and dollar Swiss, you know, there's a lot of momentum on both euro dollar and dollar Swiss to the downside, and now the dollar Swiss has come up above this parity level. Euro dollar and dollar Swiss are generally going to move in tandem with one another, like these two green candles match up perfectly with these two green candles, and then followed by consolidation. And you can see how much resistance there has been here in the past, right at this parity level, right in through here. Another easy one to look at as far as you know, different types of consolidation breaks and downside movement, if you will, is like on dollar Swiss. You can look to trade this one. I like how dollar Swiss made such a strong move up outside of this. You know, this is what dollar Swiss did on Friday. Just made this little triangle formation or pennant formation right in through here. Triangle formation, consolidation, broke out, came out strong out of that formation. I do like the idea, same thing as the pound, if it comes back down into that level of looking for buy opportunities on dollar Swiss. I kind of look at this as being the breakout. So if it retraces from the intraday move, same thing as pound. I'm not going to put this one on the trading sheet, but if you're looking for momentum and retracement trades, I think dollar Swiss, you could look for it to retrace back from its daily high, basically to its daily low from the opening of the market, to possibly come back down in this mid 99.50 range for a trade. To possibly go long dollar Swiss. Same as pound, only the opposite. And then if you wanted to look for it to make an extended break above this, above parity, you could look for it to break the recent highs of the day. So it's kind of the same trades as pound. Even on the euro dollar, the same trades as exist on the pound exist here on the euro dollar. Here, I'll take a look at them. So you can see a kind of a theme here. The commodity currencies have kind of the same trading situations as do the European currencies. Like the euro dollar, here's its consolidation right down in here. I chose the pound just because the LP and the trend line and the PitView indicator, they all kind of are working in tandem with one another. Same thing here on the euro dollar. I wouldn't be opposed to trading into a breakout down below this low, putting your stop right up above this high, and looking for a one-to-one risk reward, or looking for a retracement back up towards the 110 level from the intraday levels. Same as the pound, basically the same circumstances as the pound, if you will. So momentum and retracements for dollar strength versus those European currencies. But I chose the pound for a reason. I chose it because I thought it was, you know, it kind of had that better look to it, if you will, as far as just the LP trend line and liquidity providers go. So essentially we're just trading the market in either direction here. Here, I'll go ahead and save this. So what's today? 3/7/16. Super. I'll go ahead and save this as a PDF also. And let me get these handouts to you real quick. After these things close out a little bit. All right. All right. So that's what we got thus far. Let's just check this dollar CAD real quick. This one could be interesting. No, nothing quite there. CAD's been extremely volatile. You know, that it was very close between New Zealand and CAD this morning, but I chose, you can see that I chose New Zealand based on the fact that it was, you know, that it was just kind of given the better technical pattern, if you will, with a double bottom and stuff. But, you know, right here on the CAD, it's +5. You know, same thing. It's broken down below the low of consolidation. Obviously, it found some support right down here near the lows. So, I mean, the same thing as New Zealand. You know, New Zealand just kind of gave the better signal, but if it goes just negative, now that it's +5, you know, that you could easily look for that as a buying opportunity or as a selling opportunity on dollar CAD. So anyway, you know, a couple of trades to think about. We're in one trade for right now. More than happy with the one that we're in right now. We got others that we can look at with the pound and euro and Swiss, depending on which one you want to trade. Hopefully that made sense. Shoot me an email if you, let's see here. Now that I'm actually back up and running and a part of the, for the class on Thursday when we trade the ECB meeting live, shoot me an email if you would like to partake. And then tomorrow, oh crap, I didn't send that yesterday. My NuriFX students, this week is going to be a busy week because I'm going to be doing those tutorials that I talked